purpose of this video is to demonstrate the creation of knowledge graphs in this Luca application created by AuditChain. So I'm going to do it the easy way first. I'm going to create a report 3 times, 2 the easy way and then 1 the hard way. So here's a report. I'm going to call it demonstration. And I'm going to create the report by loading a template from a library. So here's my financial reporting scheme library, and this has all these different reporting schemes. I'm just going to grab this one. I could update it, but I don't need to update it because it hasn't changed. I'm just going to grab all these pieces. You can see the pieces here. And I'm also going to generate facts in US dollars. And I press this button and I have created a knowledge graph that contains 3 structures. So that you can see the model here, or you can see the model here. These are presentation relations, calculation relations. Only one of those structures had calculation relations, and the definition relations. Okay. I can view this as a rendering, as a model. I can view only the fact table, the rules, the verification results, or the elements in the knowledge graph. Okay, so this is the model. So this was created simply by pulling a template from a library. And you can modify these templates. I'm not going to go into that though, but you can modify the templates. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to recreate it. This time I'm going to import from an Excel file. So this is the Excel file, and the application converts this into JSON. So it's kind of like, you can envision this as either loading this Excel set of Excel, or this Excel file, or loading JSON, or having information pumped into this knowledge graph using an API. So I'm just going to load this, and this is a little different than the first template that I loaded. It has more pieces, but the same idea. I built all of this simply by reading this Excel spreadsheet that has some information about the file names and namespaces, the terms of the knowledge graph, the labels, structures, associations, consistency rules, roll forward rules, and these are the facts. Okay. So that is the second way. The third way, again, I want to show you these different views. You can see that it is what more people see is a graph. And these are the XBRL different link bases. So the third way, so I now have deleted this second one. This third approach I am going to create a report from scratch. So it's prompting me here to say, hey, it needs this information. It needs the prefix, which it defaulted to report, and I can change that. I can change this. Or I can just leave them the same. And then I create this. It'll put a fact in. I'm going to just change this just to show that I can. That's the number. And then this scheme is going to be my the ID. I'm going to use this date. Maybe I'll change it to 2023. And so now I'm ready to start editing. So you see an empty rendering, an empty model, an empty fact table, no rules, no verification results, no elements, because the report is empty. There's no associations. You can go to the properties and see there's a reporting scheme and basically nothing else. There's the reporting scheme that I created. So I'm going to go to the view mode and I'm going to add a structure. And I'm going to add another structure. And I'm going to add a third structure. So now I'm going to go into this structure and I'm going to add a hypercube. This is a funky name. I don't want to do that. My number one hypercube. Okay. I'll add one here. A second hypercube. And a third hypercube. The point is I'm doing this manually just to show you that it can be done. I also showed you how to make this easier by importing, reading from an API, reading from a template. But what happens when it loads these things is it does all this work that I'm showing you and doing manually. So here I created a hypercube. the way that XBRL hypercubes work, it has a thing called the line items, which is basically the information that is being articulated. I need to add a container. That container is going to be an abstract concept. I'm going to add a new concept. Now I'm going to add a concrete concept. Let's see. It's going to be monetary. Could be any of these data types, so I'm just going to make it monetary. Could be an instant or a duration. I'll make it an instant because I'm going to do a balance sheet. No, I'm actually not going to do any specific kind. But anyway, see what's going on. I added this concept. Now I'm going to add another concept. And I'll add a third concept, which I'll call a total. I gotta check to make sure that I did in fact make this. Oops, yeah, I made a mistake. So I'm gonna go over here and find that the duration, I wanted it to be an instant, so I change it. Go back to the view, and this is not ready to be edited yet. There's what I was looking at. Okay, so I have three concepts. Concrete concept, concrete concept, concrete concept that's a total, an abstract concept that's a container, a hypercube that's a container, or line items, which is part of the hypercube, and then this hypercube, which is a container. So this may seem like a lot of work, but you're putting in all the details. But there are things that make this simpler. Like, for example, I imported from template or from an Excel spreadsheet in the first two examples. Here I'm doing the detailed work, but you can do a lot of things that make the application helps you by doing things that make your life easier. So here, I really don't want this just to be a set of concepts. I want this to be a roll-up. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to change this block type from being a set to being a roll-up. I do that, and you see this line appears. So now I want to rename this to roll-up, just to make it clear. You don't have to do this. But now I have this graph, and I can go look at information about what I created. And I can now edit this. So I'm just going to, I'll just put in numbers, 100, 1,000. I'm going to put in the wrong value just to make a point. So it's saying it's wrong because it is wrong. So I'm going to fix that, And now it'll say that it's right. So now I go back, and I showed you the tree, and I showed you what I can see the structures that I built. I can see the rendering. Here's the model that I built and all the information in the model. Here's the fact table of what I put in. I put in these values. There's 3 values. Here's the rule is an XPRL calculation relation. So this is an interesting thing. I'm not going to go into that. But here's the rule verification. It's saying that everything adds up fine. And there are the report element names. So now I'm going to go back into this view. That's a hard way to get there. I'm going to add a new period. I'm going to do that by taking this, copying it. So now watch what happens. Add facts for new period. I'm going to do this for 2022. And what it did is it added 3 more facts. So I can go in here again. So notice this, 2023, 2022. I'm going to add 2024 and watch what it does. It didn't put it over here. It put it over here. Why did it do that? Because it knows the dates, and it knows, the application knows that you want them in date order descending. You can change that order to ascending if you want to in the preferences. But again, this is a smart application. And notice that before I had 3 facts in the fact table. Now I have 9 facts. The 3 I had plus the 2 periods that I added. So what's happening here is if you've got, you can edit this stuff in this model here, but when you do, it impacts the view. So I'm going to add a 3rd concept. So I'm going to add new extension concept. I'm going to call this new and make it stand out. It's an instant. See, it knew that I wanted an instant, and it won't let me put anything else in. So why is that? Because these are all instances, and you can't put a duration in with an instant in a rollup. The rollups have to be all the same period type. Put that in as a debit. I'm going to add that. What happened is it added this row, or this concept here, but it also added it to the rendering. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it up, and it moves it up in the rendering. I can move it down, up, whatever. There's no value, doesn't know what it is, but I can go in and add values. It's checking, so I'm going to make this wrong. See how it shows you that it's wrong. And it should update this in a second. There's a daemon running in the background. If I click on it, I think it'll update it. Yeah, there you go, it updated it. If I go back, updated it here too, showed that it's wrong. If I go here and I fix it, they're all green again. So again, there's the model, the fact table, the rules, verification, elements, and it uses all this stuff to generate this stuff, which is a human readable version of all this information in this knowledge graph. So I built one. I could do the same thing in here. I can build roll-ups, roll forwards, other kind of mathematical patterns. I'm going to stop for there because this is getting longer. Video's long, so I'm going to stop here.